Good morning, boys and girls. This week we are working on our story, I Wanna Iguana. Before we begin our lesson today, I need you to get a few items. You need to get your reading textbooks and turn to page 236. You will also need a pencil and a scrap piece of paper. So go ahead and pause the video and go get those 3 items. Okay, this week for our skill, we are revisiting a skill that we have already talked about called compare and contrast. Remember, when we compare items, we're figuring out how they are alike, okay? How they are alike or the same. When we contrast items, we're trying to figure out how they are different. Okay, how they're different. So when we compare, we see how things are alike or the same. When we contrast, we see how things are different. And if you see this little diagram right here, this is called a Venn diagram. You have 2 circles that overlap, and anything that is on the sides is how they are different. Okay, we're contrasting them. That's where we would put how they are different. If you see this middle section where the 2 circles overlap, that's how we figure out how they're the same. So if we're comparing and contrasting 2 items, such as a banana and an orange, we would have how they are different in this space, and how banana and oranges are the same right here in the middle where they overlap. Now, that's just one example of a diagram that you can use for compare and contrast. There's many other diagrams that you can also use to compare and contrast. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I would like you to get out your reading textbooks and turn to page 237. Page 237. And your page should look like my page. So today we're going to read about Snuggles and Tippy. We're going to read about Snuggles and Tippy. And as I'm reading this story to you and you're following along, I want you to think about how they are alike and how things are different. We're going to compare and contrast in this story, Snuggles and Tippy. Now, first of all, we have to try to figure out who is Snuggles and Tippy. Who are they? And we're going to read our story and we'll be able to figure that out. But we will be comparing and contrasting Snuggles and Tippy. Okay, here we go, boys and girls. It says Rita had a small black cat named Snuggles. The cat had bright green eyes. Her neighbor Joe had a big black dog he called Tippy. Tippy had a white spot on the tip of his tail. So I'm going to pause right there, boys and girls. We just learned who Snuggles and Tippy was, right? Snuggles is a small black cat, and Tippy is a big black dog. Joe was busy playing catch with his dog when Rita walked out into the backyard. "Where is your cat?" asked Joe. "Does she play outside?" Tippy loves to be with people. "Cats are much more particular," replied Rita. "They will not play with just anyone." Just then, Snuggles walked out of the house. Tippy barked and Snuggles ran. She was so frightened that she climbed right up into the branches of the nearest tree. "Well," said Joe, "that is another difference between cats and dogs. My dog would never run up a tree." Snuggles hissed at Tippy from the safety of her branch. Rita was upset. "Well, my cat would never scare your dog." I'm not sure about that, laughed Joe, as he rescued the angry cat. Now, we're going to think about how Snuggles and Tippy are the same or alike and how they're different. So we're going to compare and contrast how they are the same and how they are different. So I would like you to get out your sheet of paper, your scrap paper, and I would like you to draw 2 circles that overlap each other. So if you are at home and you do not have this paper, I want you to draw 2 circles like this. You're going to draw 1 circle here, and then you're going to draw another circle, but you're going to make sure that your circles overlap each other, okay? And you can write Snuggles at the top to the left. If you want, you can write both, a B for both, and then Tippy on the right side of the circle, okay? Your drawing will probably be a little bit better than mine, but that's what I want you to do. I want you to draw 2 circles that overlap, then I want you to label it. Snuggles, B stands for both, and then Tippy. Okay, so we need to figure out how Snuggles and Tippy are different and how they are both the same, okay? How they are both the same. Now, if I think about it, the first main thing that we know from our story, boys and girls, and yes, it's very important to go back to your story to find these answers. The first thing that we learned in our reading, in the first paragraph, we found out who these characters were. We found out that Snuggles was a small black cat, and we found out that Tippy was a big black dog, okay? So we found out that Tippy was a big black dog, and Snuggles was a cat. So Snuggles, we're going to write cat. And I'm going to put a dot there. And we learned that Tippy is a dog. What else did we learn in that first paragraph? There's also other information just in that first paragraph. What did it say about Snuggles' eyes? Can anybody find what it says about Snuggles' eyes? Yeah, it says the cat had bright green eyes. What did it say that was special about Tippy? Yep, a white spot on the tip of his tail. Okay? So those, again, are 2 ways that we're contrasting them. There are 2 different things about them. So let's go ahead and write that. We want to write next to, underneath Snuggles, we want to write bright green eyes. Go ahead and write bright green eyes. And underneath Tippy, we want to put a white spot on the tip of his tail. White spot on the tip of his tail. Okay, boys and girls, let's go back to our story. These things are things that we've learned in the first paragraph. Let's move on to our second paragraph. Joe was busy playing catch with his dog when Rita walked out into the backyard. "Where's your cat?" asked Joe. "Does she play outside?" "Tippy loves to be with people." Cats are much more particular, replied Rita. They will not just play with anyone. Did you hear something in what I just read? Yeah, we learned that Tippy loves to be with people. But cats will not play with just anyone. And that's another way how they are different from each other. So boys and girls, let's go ahead and write that. We know that Tippy, which is the dog, loves to be with people. So we're going to write loves to be with people. Tippy loves to be with people. And we learn with Snuggles that she will not play with just anyone. So will not play with just anyone. Boys and girls, Snuggles is very particular about who she plays with. Whereas Tippy doesn't matter who you are. She loves to be with people, with anyone. I'll give you a second to go ahead and write that. If you're finished writing, keep reading. See if you can find some more similarities and differences. Just then, Snuggles walked out of the house. Tippy barked and Snuggles ran. She was so frightened that she climbed right up into the branches of the nearest tree. Well, said Joe, that is another difference. Boys and girls are giving us another difference between cats and dogs. My dog would never run up a tree. Okay, so what does that tell us about Snuggles? Yeah, she can climb up a tree. Very good. Can climb up a tree. So Snuggles can climb up a tree. And we also learned, boys and girls, what did Tippy do? What did Tippy do that made Snuggles climb up that tree? What did she do that made Snuggles climb up that tree? Yes, she barked. Very good. So Tippy barks. Tippy barks. Okay, let's continue on. It says Snuggles hissed at Tippy from the safety of her branch. Rita was upset. Well, my cat would never scare your dog. I am not sure about that, laughed Joe, as he rescued the angry cat. Well, what did Snuggles do back to Tippy? Yeah, she hissed. Snuggles hissed. We know that cats can hiss. So we're going to say hissed. All right, boys and girls, there's one more thing that we did not mention that was at the beginning of our paragraph. So go back to the beginning of our paragraph, and I want you to look. When we described the cat at the beginning, we said that it was small and black, okay? And when we described Tippy the dog, we found out that it was big and black. So that's some more information, boys and girls, that we can add to our Venn diagram. I see a difference, and I also see a similarity. What is the difference from what I just described? Snuggles is small and black, and Tippy is big and black. What is the difference? What is the difference? If you said that Snuggles is small and Tippy is big, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And we're going to add that to our Venn diagram. But before we do, how are they the same? What is the similarity? If you hear someone say similarity, it means how they're similar, how they're alike or the same. How are they the same? Yeah, they're both black. They are both black animals. Very good. So we're going to add that. Let's go ahead and add underneath Snuggles. We want to say that Snuggles is small. And we want to say that Tippy is what? Very good. Big. We want to say that Tippy is big. Now, we both know that they are what? How are they the same? How are they similar? They were both described as being what color? Black. They are both black. Okay? They are both black. Now, what is some other information that they didn't necessarily come out and say or tell us in our story, but from what we read, we know, okay? So we know, boys and girls, that they each have an owner, okay? That means they each belong to somebody. So we're going to write have owners. Have owners. So if you have an animal at home, you would be the owner of that animal, right? You would own that animal. That animal lives with you. So they both have owners, okay? So we talked about Rita. Rita's the one that has Snuggles. And Joe is the one that has Tippy. So they both have owners. And they're both what? They're both what? Yeah, they're both animals. They might be different kind of animal, but they're both animals in general, okay? They're both animals. So boys and girls, we just compared and contrast Snuggles the cat and Tippy the dog. We found out how they are different from each other, and we also found out how they are the same or similar to each other. So when we compare and contrast two items or more than two items, when we compare, we find how they are similar, how they are the same or alike, and when we contrast, we can find out how they are different from each other. Remember, boys and girls, this is a target skill, so make sure you're really following along this week, especially with compare and contrast, because we know that our target skills will come up on our tests, okay? So you did a fantastic job with our story in comparing and contrasting.